I sat in the back row of the church, alone. The wooden pew felt cold beneath my dress, a simple blue cotton thing I'd bought on sale. Around me, 200 guests filled the ornate sanctuary, their designer outfits rustling with expensive fabric. Crystal chandeliers cast soft light over the scene, making everything look like a fairy tale. Everyone except me. My stepsister Veronica stood at the altar in a dress that cost more than my car, her fiancé Marcus beaming beside her. Mom sat in the front row, dabbing at tears with a lace handkerchief. My stepfather Richard held her hand, his expression proud and emotional. The rest of the family occupied the first 3 rows on both sides. Aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, all positioned according to some hierarchy I'd apparently fallen outside of. I'd arrived early, hopping to sit with Mom. The wedding coordinator, a stern woman named Patricia, had stopped me at the door. "You're Isabel?" she'd asked, checking her clipboard. "Yes, that's me. Row 23 left side." She'd pointed to the back corner. "But that's... seating chart is final. Bride's orders." So here I sat, surrounded by empty seats, watching my family celebrate without me. The ceremony began with a string quartet playing something classical and expensive. I watched Veronica glide down the aisle on Richard's arm, her veil trailing behind her like a cloud. She looked beautiful. I couldn't deny that. As she passed my row, her eyes found mine for just a second. Something flickered across her face, satisfaction maybe, before she looked away. That look told me everything. This wasn't an oversight or a mistake in the seating chart. She'd placed me here deliberately. Behind the extended family. Behind Richard's business partners. Behind people who'd met her exactly once. The message was clear. I didn't matter. A woman in front of me turned around, squinting at my isolated position. She whispered something to her husband, who glanced back too. Heat crawled up my neck. This was humiliation by design. For 6 years, since Mom married Richard, I'd been the outsider in my own family. Veronica, 5 years younger than my 28, had made sure of it. Every family dinner, every holiday, every photo op featured her at the center while I faded into the background. But this wedding felt different. This felt like erasure. The officiant began speaking about love and family. I clenched my hands in my lap, willing myself not to cry. My phone buzzed in my clutch, a text from my best friend Amy. "How's the wedding?" I typed back. "Sitting alone in the back row, literally alone." 3 dots appeared immediately. "What? That's insane, walk out." I considered it. Standing up right now, walking down that long aisle while everyone watched, leaving this beautiful church and never looking back. But Mom would be devastated. She'd worked so hard to blend our families, convinced that time and effort would make us whole. She didn't see what I saw, that Richard's money had bought her a new life that didn't include room for me. After Dad died when I was 15, Mom had struggled for years, working double shifts as a nurse, sacrificing everything to keep our small apartment. When she met Richard at a hospital fundraiser, her entire world shifted. Within a year, we'd moved into his mansion. Within 2, they were married. And Veronica, Daddy's little princess, had made her position clear from day one. I wasn't her sister. I was an inconvenience. The officiant asked if anyone objected to the union. Silence filled the church. I stayed quiet, watching this performance of perfect family unity, knowing I'd never truly be part of it. The ceremony dragged on. Vows were exchanged, rings presented, a unity candle lit. Through it all, I sat invisible in my back row exile. Then something unexpected happened. The church door opened quietly and a man slipped inside. Late to the ceremony, he paused in the entrance, scanning for available seats. His eyes landed on my row, the only one with obvious empty space. He walked toward me, his footsteps echoing slightly on the marble floor. As he got closer, I noticed his dark suit, perfectly tailored. His face carried an interesting mix of confidence and kindness. "Is this seat taken?" he whispered, gesturing to the space beside me. "All yours," I whispered back. He sat down, leaving a respectful distance between us. Up close, I could see he was probably in his early 30s with dark hair and warm brown eyes. He glanced around at the empty pew, then at the packed rows ahead of us. "Did we miss the part where they explained why the back row is quarantine?" His quiet joke surprised a small laugh out of me. Several people turned to share disapproving looks. "Something like that," I murmured. He studied my face for a moment, and I saw understanding dawn in his expression. This stranger somehow grasped the situation instantly. "I'm Owen," he whispered, extending his hand. Isabel, I replied, shaking it. His grip was warm and firm. Friend of the bride or groom? Neither, actually. I'm the bride's stepsister. Owen's eyebrows rose slightly. And they seated you back here. Apparently, I'm not immediate family enough. The words came out more bitter than I'd intended. That's ridiculous, he said flatly. At the altar, the officiant pronounced Veronica and Marcus husband and wife. The church erupted in applause. Owen leaned closer. For what it's worth, their loss. Anyone who'd stick you back here isn't worth your time. Something about his words, spoken by a complete stranger, cracked something open inside me. My eyes burned with tears I'd been holding back all morning. The newlyweds swept down the aisle in a shower of rose petals. Veronica's smile could have powered the sun. As she passed our row, she glanced over, her eyes narrowing when she saw Owen sitting beside me. Good, I thought. Let her wonder. The guests began filing out, row by row from the front. Owen and I would be among the last to leave. The reception should be interesting, he said. Oh, it'll be something, I agreed. Especially since I'm probably seated in the parking lot. Owen and I were indeed the last to exit the church. Outside, guests mingled on the lawn, taking photos and heading toward their cars. The reception was being held at the Grandview estate, a venue so expensive my monthly salary wouldn't cover the flower budget. Need a ride? Owen asked as we stood on the church steps. I drove myself, but thanks. I spotted my old Honda in the parking lot, looking shabby next to the Mercedes and BMWs. I'll see you at the reception then. He smiled. Looking forward to it? As he walked away, I felt strangely lighter. One kind stranger had done more for me in 10 minutes than my family had in years. I drove to the Grandview estate, following the convoy of luxury cars. The venue was stunning, all marble columns and manicured gardens. Inside, the ballroom glittered with thousands of tiny lights. Tables draped in ivory silk surrounded a massive dance floor. A live band set up in the corner. Everything screamed money. I found the seating chart near the entrance. Searching for my name took longer than it should have. Finally, I spotted it, table 18. Not with family, not with Mom's friends, with Richard's business associates who I'd met maybe twice. Perfect. I made my way through the ballroom, weaving between tables until I found 18. 4 middle-aged couples already sat there, deep in conversation about stock portfolios. Hi, I said, approaching table 18. I think I'm seated here. A woman in a burgundy dress glanced at the place card in front of the empty chair. Isabel, yes, that's you. Her tone made it clear she had no idea who I was or why I'd been placed at their table. I sat down, arranging my purse on my lap. The conversations around me continued without pause. Nobody introduced themselves. Nobody asked how I knew the bride. I might as well have been invisible. Across the ballroom, I could see the head table where Veronica, Marcus, Mom, and Richard sat. They were laughing, toasting with champagne, the picture of happiness. Mom caught my eye for a second. She smiled and waved. I waved back, wondering if she even realized where they'd seated me. Probably not. Mom had a gift for not seeing uncomfortable truths. The waiters began serving salads. Around me, the business associates discussed market trends. One man complained about his vacation home's property taxes. Another woman debated whether to buy a third car or invest in art. These were not my people. I picked at my salad, feeling the familiar ache of being the outsider. Then I saw Owen enter the ballroom. He scanned the room, found his table near the middle, then spotted me. His expression shifted to concern. Dinner progressed through multiple courses, each more elaborate than the last. Filet mignon with truffle butter, lobster risotto, asparagus tips wrapped in prosciutto. The food was probably amazing, but everything tasted like cardboard to me. At the head table, Richard stood to give a toast. To my beautiful daughter Veronica, he began, his voice thick with emotion. From the moment you were born, you've been the light of my life. Watching you grow into this remarkable woman has been my greatest joy. My stepfather continued, listing Veronica's accomplishments. Her degree from an expensive private college that he'd paid for, her successful PR career at his friend's company, her impeccable taste and grace. And now, seeing you marry Marcus, a man worthy of your love, my heart is full. He raised his glass. To Veronica and Marcus, may your marriage be filled with all the happiness you deserve. The room erupted in applause. I clapped along, mechanical and hollow. Richard didn't mention Mom's daughter. Didn't acknowledge that he'd gained a stepchild too when he married my mother. To him, I simply didn't exist. Next, Marcus's father stood to speak, then Veronica's godmother. Toast after toast celebrated the bride, each one reinforcing her position at the center of everything. Finally, Mom stood up. My heart lifted slightly. Maybe she'd mention me. Mom's voice wavered with emotion as she addressed the crowd. "My darling Veronica," she began, "I couldn't be prouder of the woman you've become." I sat up straighter, waiting. "When Richard and I got married 6 years ago, I gained not just a wonderful husband, but a beautiful daughter. You've welcomed me into your life with such grace and love." My chest tightened. "Watching you plan this wedding, seeing the joy in your eyes, has reminded me what family truly means. Means being there for each other, supporting each other through everything." She paused, wiping her eyes. "Veronica, you've shown me the power of acceptance and love. Thank you for making me feel like I truly belong in this family." The applause was deafening. I sat frozen, Mom's words echoing in my head. Veronica had welcomed her with grace. Veronica had shown her acceptance. What about me? What about her actual daughter, sitting alone at table 18 with strangers? Mom sat down and Richard kissed her cheek. Neither of them looked my way. The band began playing, and couples moved to the dance floor. At my table, the business associates discussed the speech, agreeing that Richard had raised his daughter well. I excused myself and headed for the bathroom, needing to escape before I broke down completely. In the bathroom, I locked myself in a stall and let the tears come. Quiet, controlled crying that I'd perfected over 6 years of being invisible. How had it come to this? When had Mom stopped seeing me? I knew the answer. It happened gradually. First, she was just grateful for Richard's financial stability. Then she was anxious about fitting into his world. Finally, she'd convinced herself that Veronica's acceptance mattered more than anything, including her own daughter's feelings. I'd become collateral damage in Mom's quest for belonging. After composing myself, I washed my face and reapplied lipstick. In the mirror, I looked tired. The blue dress suddenly seemed childish compared to the elegant gowns everyone else wore. I'd bought it on sale at a department store. Most women here probably spent more on their shoes than I'd spent on my entire outfit. When I returned to the ballroom, I found Owen standing by my table. "I was hopping to find you," he said. "Dance with me." I hesitated. "I'm not really in a dancing mood." "Then walk with me. The gardens outside are supposed to be beautiful." Something in his kind eyes made me nod. We slipped out through the French doors onto a stone terrace. The evening air was cool and refreshing after the stuffy ballroom. The gardens were indeed beautiful, lit with subtle path lighting that made everything glow softly. Owen and I walked in silence for a moment, following a gravel path between rows of roses. "You don't have to tell me what's going on," he finally said, "but I'm a pretty good listener if you want to talk." I laughed bitterly. "Where do I even start? My stepsister hates me. My stepfather pretends I don't exist. And my mom has apparently forgotten she has 2 daughters." Owen stopped walking, turning to face me. "How long has this been happening?" 6 years, since Mom married Richard. Veronica made it clear from the beginning that I wasn't welcome in her perfect family. But this, I gestured toward the reception. Sticking me in the back of the church, seating me with strangers, not mentioning me in any of the toasts, this is a new level. "That's not okay, Isabel. None of that is okay." His anger on my behalf surprised me. "Your family. You should have been in the front row. You should have been acknowledged." "Try telling them that." We continued walking. Owen asked questions, and I found myself telling him everything. About Dad's death, Mom's struggle, meeting Richard, moving into the mansion, Veronica's constant subtle cruelties that Mom never seemed to notice. "Last Christmas," I said, "they had professional photos taken. The whole family dressed in white, standing in front of their fireplace. Beautiful portraits for their holiday cards." "Let me guess," Owen said. "You weren't in the photos." "Worse, I was in them initially. We took dozens of shots with me included. But when the holiday cards arrived, they'd used the version where I'd stepped out for a minute, just Richard, Mom, and Veronica, the perfect family of 3. Owen's jaw tightened. "Your mom allowed that. She said it was an accident, that the photographer must have sent the wrong file, but I saw her that day. She'd reviewed every single photo carefully before approving them." We'd reached a fountain in the center of the gardens. I sat on its stone edge, suddenly exhausted. "Why are you being so nice to me?" I asked. "You don't even know me." Owen sat beside me. "Because I know what it's like to be invisible in your own family. My father remarried when I was 16. His new wife had twin sons my age. Suddenly I was the odd one out, the son from the first marriage who didn't quite fit the new family picture." "What did you do?" "I left. Went to college across the country." built my own life. Now I see them on holidays, keep things cordial, but I don't pretend we're close anymore. I found my real family among friends who actually valued me. His words struck something deep inside me. Maybe that was the answer. Stop trying to force belonging where it clearly wasn't wanted. We sat by the fountain talking for another 20 minutes. Owen told me about his work as an architect, his small apartment downtown, his rescue dog named Copper. I told him about my job as a kindergarten teacher, my tiny studio across town, my love for hiking on weekends. Talking to him felt easy, natural, like we'd known each other for years instead of hours. I should probably get back inside, I finally said, before Mom notices I'm gone and actually remembers she has a daughter. Or, Owen suggested, we could skip the rest of the reception. Get coffee somewhere quiet. Let them celebrate without you for once. The idea was tempting, but I shook my head. I need to stay. Mom would be hurt if I left early. Even after everything, I was still protecting her feelings. Owen walked me back inside. The reception was in full swing now. Veronica and Marcus were on the dance floor, surrounded by guests. Mom and Richard swayed nearby, looking blissfully happy. Thank you, I said to Owen, for everything, for sitting with me, for listening. You made this bearable. Can I get your number? He asked. I'd like to take you to dinner sometime, a real dinner where you're the guest of honor. I smiled despite everything. I'd like that. We exchanged phones and entered our numbers. As I handed his phone back, Veronica's voice cut through the music. Isabel. I turned to see Veronica approaching, her wedding dress swishing dramatically. Marcus trailed behind her, looking uncomfortable. Up close, my stepsister was even more beautiful, with Mom's dark hair and Richard's sharp features. There you are, she said, her smile not reaching her eyes. I've been looking for you. We're about to cut the cake. I'm right here, I replied evenly. Her gaze shifted to Owen, assessing him with obvious interest. And who's your friend? Owen, he said, extending his hand. Congratulations on your wedding. She shook his hand, holding it a beat too long. Thank you. How do you know Isabel? We met at the ceremony, Owen said smoothly. Found ourselves in the back row together. Something flickered in Veronica's expression. The back row? That must have been a seating mistake. Patricia was supposed to have Isabel at table 7 with the family. The lie was so smooth, so practiced. I stared at her in disbelief. Table 7. Patricia specifically told me table 18 was correct. She said it was bride's orders. Veronica's laugh tinkled like breaking glass. Oh, Isabel, always so dramatic. Why would I seat my sister away from the family? You must have misunderstood. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. Babe, we should get back. They're waiting to cut the cake. Veronica ignored him, still focused on me. You look nice, by the way. That dress is sweet. The word sweet dripped with condescension. Before I could respond, Mom appeared at Veronica's elbow. There you are, sweetheart, ready for the cake. Then she noticed me. Oh, Isabel, I wondered where you'd gotten to. I've been here the whole time, Mom, at table 18 with Richard's business partners. Confusion crossed Mom's face. Table 18, but I thought. The seating chart got a bit mixed up, Veronica interrupted smoothly. But everything worked out fine. Right, Isabel? The way she said my name with that slight edge was a challenge. She was daring me to make a scene at her wedding, to be the difficult stepsister causing problems on her special day. I looked at Mom, at her hopeful expression, and felt the fight drain out of me. Right, I said quietly. Everything's fine. Good. Veronica linked her arm through Mom's. Come on, Catherine, Richard's waiting at the cake table. They walked away together, leaving me with Marcus and Owen. Marcus cleared his throat awkwardly. Look, Isabel, Veronica didn't mean anything by the seating thing. She's just been stressed about the wedding. Sure, I said. Stressed. He hurried after his new wife, probably relieved to escape. Owen's hand found mine, squeezing gently. That was unbelievable. She lied right to your face. That's Veronica. She's been rewriting reality for 6 years, and everyone believes her version because it's easier than acknowledging the truth. The cake-cutting ceremony began with great fanfare. Veronica and Marcus posed with the 5-tier masterpiece, smiling for dozens of photos. Richard made another speech about his daughter's sweetness. Mom beamed with pride. I stood at the edge of the crowd, Owen beside me. My phone buzzed with a text from Amy. Please tell me you're okay. I typed back. Define okay. Throughout the cake cutting, I kept my face neutral, applauded when appropriate, smiled when people glanced my way. Performed the role of the happy stepsister, even though everything inside me screamed. After cake was served, the dancing resumed. Mom finally made her way over to me. Isabel, honey, are you having a good time? The question was so absurd I almost laughed. It's a beautiful wedding, Mom. Veronica looks stunning, doesn't she? Richard spared no expense. This whole event probably cost more than our old apartment was worth. The casual comparison stung. Our old apartment, where we'd lived after Dad died, where Mom had worked herself to exhaustion to provide for us. She talked about it now like it was a shameful chapter she'd left behind. Mom, can I ask you something? Of course, sweetie. Did you know they seated me in the back of the church, away from the family? Mom's expression flickered with something, guilt maybe, before smoothing over. Oh, honey, the seating was complicated, so many people to accommodate. I sat alone, Mom, in the last row, while you sat up front with Richard and Veronica. Mom glanced around, clearly uncomfortable with this conversation. Isabel, this isn't the time. It's Veronica's wedding day. Can't we just be happy for her? I am happy for her, but I'm also your daughter. Doesn't that matter? Of course it matters. Don't be ridiculous. But her eyes slid away from mine. You know how important today is for Veronica, for Richard. They've worked so hard to make everything perfect. And where do I fit in that perfection, Mom? She sighed, that particular sound she made when I was being difficult. You're being overly sensitive. The seating arrangements weren't personal. You're reading too much into things like you always do. Her words hit like a slap, like I always do, as if my hurt over 6 years of being sidelined was just me being dramatic. You didn't mention me in your toast, I said quietly. Mom blinked. What? Your toast. You talked about gaining Veronica as a daughter, about how she welcomed you into the family, but you never mentioned me, your actual daughter. Isabel, the toast was about Veronica. It was her moment. But I'm your daughter, too. Don't I deserve to be acknowledged? Or have you completely forgotten about me in your new life? Mom's face hardened. That's not fair. I love you. I've always loved you. Then why do I feel invisible? My voice cracked. Why does everything revolve around Veronica and Richard? Why am I always the afterthought? Mom reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Honey, you're being unfair. I know the last few years have been an adjustment, but we're a family now. That means compromise. I've been compromising for 6 years. I moved into Richard's house. I tried to bond with Veronica. I attended every family dinner, every holiday, every event. And what have I gotten in return? Being erased from Christmas photos and seated with strangers at the wedding. You're exaggerating. Mom's tone turned sharp. I won't have you ruining Veronica's day with your jealousy. The word jealousy stunned me. After everything, that's what she saw. Not hurt, not disappointment, but jealousy. I'm not jealous, Mom. I'm heartbroken. There's a difference. I think you should go, Mom said quietly, before you say something you'll regret. We'll talk about this later when you've calmed down. She walked away before I could respond. I stood frozen in the middle of the reception, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. Owen appeared at my side. I heard most of that. I'm sorry. She told me to leave, I whispered. My own mother told me to leave the wedding because I'm making a scene. Then let's go. Seriously, you don't need this. This time, I didn't argue. I grabbed my purse from table 18 and followed Owen toward the exit. We were almost to the door when Veronica's voice rang out. Leaving so soon, Isabel? I turned to find her standing with a group of bridesmaids, all of them watching me with barely concealed amusement. Yes, I have an early morning tomorrow. On a Sunday, how unfortunate. Her smile was sharp. I was hoping you'd catch the bouquet, although at your age you might need all the help you can get. The bridesmaids giggled. Heat flooded my face. I was 28, hardly ancient. But Veronica knew how to land her barbs precisely. Thanks for the concern, I said evenly. The wedding was beautiful. Congratulations again. Wait. Veronica glided closer, her dress rustling. I wanted to thank you for coming. I know it probably wasn't easy for you. Her words sounded concerned, but her eyes glittered with something else. Being here, watching Mom and Dad so happy with me, seeing what a real family looks like, that must be hard when you've always been on the outside. The cruelty of it took my breath away. Owen's hand tightened on my elbow. We're leaving now, he said firmly. Veronica's gaze shifted to him, assessing. You should be careful with Isabel. She has a tendency to play the victim. It gets old pretty quickly. Actually, Owen said, his voice cold, I've spent the evening watching someone get treated terribly by people who should love her. The only victim I see is the one you've been creating. Veronica's perfect smile faltered. For just a second, genuine anger flashed across her face. Excuse me. You heard me, Owen continued. I don't know what your problem is with Isabel, but treating her like this, on a day that's supposed to be about love and family, that's not just mean, it's pathetic. The bridesmaids gasped. Marcus appeared from somewhere, looking alarmed. Hey, let's all calm down. I am calm, Owen said. Just stating facts. Isabel is kind, genuine, and worth 10 of anyone here who's been treating her like garbage. He turned to me. Ready to go? I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. We walked out together, leaving Veronica standing speechless for possibly the first time in her life. Outside, the cool evening air hit my face. I realized I was shaking. I can't believe you just did that, I said. Someone needed to. I'm sorry if I overstepped. Are you kidding? That was the most incredible thing anyone's ever done for me. Owen smiled. Well, the night's still young. Let's get that coffee I mentioned, somewhere far away from here. We walked to the parking lot. I stopped at my Honda and Owen waited beside his car, a modest sedan a few spaces away. Follow me, he suggested. I know a great coffee shop that stays open late. 20 minutes later, we pulled up to a small cafe called the Midnight Roast. The cafe was cozy and warm, with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. We ordered coffee and settled into a corner booth. For a while, we just sat in comfortable silence. Thank you, I finally said, for standing up for me, for seeing me when nobody else did. Isabel, anyone with eyes could see what was happening. Your family is blind by choice. He sipped his coffee. The question is, what are you going to do about it? What can I do? They're my family. Family is supposed to lift you up, not tear you down. What you have with them isn't family. It's abuse dressed in expensive clothes. His words settled over me like truth. That's exactly what it was. Emotional abuse, subtle and constant. My mom wasn't always like this, I said quietly. Before Richard, she was different. We were close. She worked hard, but she was present. She saw me. And then Richard came along with his money and his perfect daughter. And suddenly I was the reminder of her old life, the one she wanted to forget. Owen reached across the table, taking my hand. Listen to me. You deserve better than this. You deserve people who celebrate you, who value you, who make room for you at the table, literally and figuratively. I don't know how to walk away from my mom. I'm not saying you have to cut her off completely, but you can set boundaries. Stop showing up to events where you're treated like trash. We talked for 3 hours. The cafe staff began cleaning up around us, a gentle hint that closing time approached. Owen paid for our coffee despite my protests. Next time is on you, he said. Next time. I'd like there to be a next time, many next times actually. He walked me to my car. Under the parking lot lights, his face was soft with concern. Are you going to be okay tonight? Honestly, I don't know, but I feel better than I did a few hours ago, thanks to you. Can I call you tomorrow? Check in? I'd like that. Owen hesitated, then pulled me into a hug. It was warm and solid and everything I needed. When we separated, he smiled. Drive safe, Isabel. Text me when you get home. I drove back to my studio apartment, my mind spinning. Everything felt different now, clearer, like someone had wiped away smudges I'd been looking through for years. Inside my apartment, I found 17 missed calls, 6 from Mom, 8 from Richard, 3 from various aunts. I deleted the voicemails without listening. Instead, I texted Amy. I walked out, tell you everything tomorrow. Her response was immediate. Good, proud of you, coffee in the morning? Definitely. I changed out of the blue dress and into comfortable pajamas. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I blocked Veronica's number, then Richard's. Mom's I left unblocked, but I turned off notifications. Sunday morning arrived with rain pattering against my window. I met Amy at our favorite coffee shop, and she listened to the whole story with increasing outrage. Owen sounds amazing, she said when I finished. But forget Owen for a minute. You actually stood up to them. You left. Isabel, do you know how huge that is? It doesn't feel huge. It feels terrifying. Because you've spent 6 years making yourself small to keep the peace. But peace at what cost? You've been miserable. My phone buzzed. Mom calling. I let it go to voicemail. She's called 20 times since last night, I told Amy. What are you going to do? I don't know yet, but I'm not rushing to apologize. For once, I'm not going to be the one fixing things. Amy reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Good, let them sit with what they did. Let them realize they pushed too far. Later that afternoon, Owen texted, How are you holding up? Better than expected. Coffee with my best friend helped. Dinner tonight. My treat, no fancy venues, no dress codes, just good food and conversation. I smiled at my phone. That sounds perfect. We met at a small Italian restaurant downtown. Over pasta and wine, Owen told me more about his life. His architecture firm, his rescued dog copper, his Sunday morning hiking habit. You should come with me sometime, he suggested. Next Sunday, maybe. I'd love that. We lingered over dessert, neither wanting the evening to end. When Owen finally drove me home, he walked me to my apartment door. "I had a really great time tonight," he said. "Me too. Thank you for this, for everything, really. Isabel, I know we just met, and I know your life is complicated right now, but I'd like to keep seeing you if you're interested." My heart lifted. "I'm very interested." He smiled, that warm, genuine expression that had first caught my attention in the church. "Good, because I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since yesterday." He kissed my cheek softly. "Good night, Isabel. Text me when you're inside safe." I floated into my apartment, feeling lighter than I had in years. Maybe this was what happened when you stopped accepting crumbs and demanded the whole meal. Monday morning brought a surprise. Mom was sitting on the bench outside my apartment building when I left for work. She looked tired, older somehow. "Mom, we need to talk, Isabel, please." I checked my watch. "I have to get to work." 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking." We sat on the bench together. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, Mom said, "You left the wedding. You embarrassed Veronica in front of everyone." "I embarrassed her. Mom, do you hear yourself? That man you were with said terrible things. Veronica was in tears. Veronica was in tears because someone finally called out her behavior. That's not the same thing." Mom's face hardened. "I didn't raise you to be cruel. No, you raised me to be invisible, to accept whatever scraps of attention you threw my way while you built your new perfect family with Richard and Veronica. That's not fair. Isn't it? Mom, look at me. Really look at me. When was the last time you chose me over Veronica? When was the last time you stood up for me?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. "I love you both equally. Then why does it feel like I don't matter at all?" Tears streamed down my face now. "I sat alone at that wedding, Mom, in the back row away from everyone, and you didn't even notice. Or worse, you did notice and didn't care. Isabel, I'm done. I'm done trying to earn a place in a family that doesn't want me. I'm done pretending everything's fine when it's not." I stood up. "When you're ready to see me, really see me, call me. Until then, I need space." I walked away, leaving Mom on that bench. My hands shook as I drove to work, but underneath the fear was something else. Freedom. That evening, Owen called. "How was your day?" "Complicated, but good. Mom showed up this morning." "How did that go?" "I told her I need space, that I'm done accepting how they treat me." "How do you feel about that?" Owen asked gently. Terrified, relieved, both at the same time. I curled up on my couch, cradling the phone, but also proud of myself. For the first time in 6 years, I chose me. "That takes real courage, Isabel. I'm proud of you too." We talked until midnight, about everything and nothing. When we finally hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: hope. 3 weeks passed. Mom called twice more, leaving voicemails I didn't return. Richard sent a formal email requesting a family meeting. I deleted it. Veronica posted wedding photos on social media, each one perfectly curated. I unfollowed her account. Meanwhile, Owen and I fell into an easy rhythm. Sunday hikes became our tradition. Weeknight dinners at small restaurants. Movie nights at his apartment where Copper the rescue dog would curl up between us. "He likes you," Owen said one evening, scratching behind the dog's ears. "Copper's an excellent judge of character." "Unlike some people," I joked. Owen's expression turned serious. "You know what I see when I look at you? Someone who's finally stepping into her own light. You're different than 3 weeks ago. Stronger." I feel different. Like I've been holding my breath for 6 years and finally remembered how to exhale. A month after the wedding, Amy called with news. "You're not going to believe this. My cousin works at Veronica's PR firm. Apparently, there's drama." "What kind of drama?" "The expensive kind. Veronica and Marcus are fighting about money. Turns out the wedding cost way more than planned, and they're struggling to pay vendors. Richard's refusing to cover the overages." I felt a twinge of satisfaction, then guilt about feeling satisfied. "That's unfortunate." "There's more. Your mom and Richard are having problems too. My cousin heard them arguing at a company event, something about priorities and family." After hanging up, I tried not to think about it. Their problems weren't mine to fix anymore. That Saturday, Owen took me to meet his father and stepmother for lunch. I was nervous, remembering his stories about being the outsider in his own family. But lunch was surprisingly pleasant. His father asked about my teaching job with genuine interest. His stepmother shared funny stories about Owen as a teenager. The twin stepbrothers were polite and included me in conversation. "They're trying," Owen explained as we drove home. "It took years and a lot of boundaries, but we found a way to coexist that works for everyone." "Do you think that's possible for me and Mom?" "Maybe, but it has to be on your terms this time, not hers." 2 months after the wedding, Mom showed up at my school. She waited outside my classroom as the last kindergartner was picked up. "Mom," my voice was carefully neutral, "I've been thinking about what you said, about really seeing you." She twisted her purse strap nervously. "You were right, I haven't been fair to you." We walked to a nearby park and sat on a bench overlooking the playground. For a long time, Mom just watched children playing on the swings. "When your father died," she finally said, "I was drowning. Every day was a struggle just to keep us afloat. Then Richard came along and suddenly I could breathe again. I had security, stability, a life I'd never dreamed possible." "I understand that, Mom, but—" "Let me finish, please." She took a shaky breath. "I was so afraid of losing that security that I convinced myself everything was fine, that you were fine, that blending our families just took time and patience. But you stopped seeing me in the process." "I know, and I'm so sorry, Isabel, so deeply sorry." Tears ran down her face. "Veronica can be difficult, I know that now, but I kept telling myself she'd come around, that you two would eventually bond. I wanted it so badly that I ignored how she was treating you. And how you were treating me." Mom nodded, accepting the truth. "I failed you. As a mother, I failed you." "The wedding was my wake-up call," Mom continued. "After you left, I couldn't stop thinking about where you'd been seated, about my toast that didn't mention you, about how invisible I'd let you become." "What changed?" I asked. "I went through old photos, before Richard, just you and me. We were happy, weren't we? Even though we didn't have much." "We were happy," I confirmed softly. "I traded our relationship for financial security, for status in Richard's world, and I didn't even realize it until you were gone." She turned to face me. "Richard and I are separating." The news stunned me. "What?" "After the wedding, things fell apart. The expenses, the stress. We had a huge fight about Veronica's treatment of you. He defended her, said you were being dramatic. I finally heard how ridiculous that sounded." Mom wiped her eyes. "I've spent 6 years prioritizing his daughter over my own, no more." I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to comfort her. Another part remembered 6 years of hurt. "I'm not asking you to forgive me right away," Mom said. "I know I have to earn that, but I want to try, if you'll let me." "I need time, Mom, and I need you to understand that things can't go back to how they were." "I know. Whatever you need, whatever boundaries you want to set, I'll respect them." Over the next few months, Mom and I began rebuilding. Slowly, carefully, coffee every other week, phone calls that didn't revolve around Richard or Veronica, conversations where she actually asked about my life and listened to the answers. She moved out of Richard's mansion and into a modest apartment, got a part-time job at a clinic, started therapy to work through her codependency issues. "I lost myself," she admitted during one of our coffee dates. "I became whoever Richard and Veronica needed me to be. I forgot who I was before them, who we were together." Meanwhile, Owen and I continued growing closer. 6 months after the wedding, he asked me to move in with him. "It's too soon," I protested, though my heart said otherwise. "Is it? We spend every night together anyway. Copper misses you when you're not there. I miss you when you're not there." "What if it doesn't work out?" Owen took my hands in his. "Isabel, I love you. I've loved you since you sat alone in that back row and didn't let them break you. Moving in together isn't a risk. It's the next step in something that's already working beautifully." I moved in 2 weeks later. My studio apartment had always felt temporary anyway. Owen's place, with Copper and the warm lighting and the Sunday morning hiking gear by the door, felt like home. 8 months after the wedding, I got an unexpected message. Veronica asking to meet for lunch. I showed Owen the text. "Should I go?" "Do you want to?" I'm curious what she wants, but I'm also not interested in more drama. Go, but meet somewhere public and keep your boundaries firm. You don't owe her anything. I met Veronica at a casual cafe, deliberately choosing somewhere she'd find beneath her usual standards. She arrived 15 minutes late, looking less polished than usual. "Thanks for meeting me," she said, sitting across from me. "You said you wanted to talk. I'm listening." Veronica ordered an expensive salad, then seemed to remember we weren't at one of her usual spots. "I owe you an apology." I waited, not making this easy for her. "The wedding, the seating, everything. I was cruel to you and there's no excuse for it." She picked at her napkin. "I've been jealous of you since the day we met." That surprised me. Jealous of me, you had everything. I had things, money, clothes, the perfect life. But you had something I didn't. Your mom genuinely loved you. My dad, Richard, he loves the idea of me, the perfect daughter he can show off. But it's conditional, based on performance. That doesn't excuse how you treated me. I know, I'm not asking for forgiveness, just acknowledgement that I was wrong. Veronica continued, her polished facade cracking. "Marcus and I are getting divorced. Turns out marrying someone because Dad approved of him isn't a great foundation. Who knew?" Her laugh was bitter. "I'm sorry," I said, meaning it despite everything. "Don't be. It's probably the best thing that could happen to me. I'm moving out of Dad's house, getting my own place, starting therapy, trying to figure out who I am without his money and expectations." We talked for another hour. It wasn't forgiveness, exactly, but it was understanding. Veronica had been a victim of Richard's conditional love too, just in a different way. "I won't ask to be friends," she said as we prepared to leave. "But maybe someday we could be civil family members who occasionally tolerate each other at holidays." "Maybe," I agreed, "someday." A year after the wedding that changed everything, Owen and I hosted Thanksgiving dinner. Mom came, looking healthier and happier than I'd seen her in years. Amy and her boyfriend joined us. Owen's father and stepfamily drove in. Even Copper got a special plate of turkey. No Richard, no Veronica, just people who actually wanted to be there, who valued each other without conditions. As we went around the table saying what we were grateful for, I looked at the faces surrounding me. This was family, not perfect, but real, built on choice and respect rather than obligation and manipulation. "I'm grateful for second chances," Mom said when it was her turn, looking directly at me, "and for daughters who are brave enough to demand better." When my turn came, I squeezed Owen's hand. "I'm grateful for strangers who sit beside you in empty rows and remind you that you're not alone." Owen kissed my temple, best back row I ever sat in. After dinner, Mom helped me clean up while Owen took Copper for a walk. We worked in comfortable silence for a while. "I'm proud of you," Mom finally said. "You built a beautiful life for yourself, despite everything I did to hurt you." "We're healing, Mom. That's what matters now." "I saw Richard last week. He asked about you." I continued washing dishes. "How is he?" "Lost, I think. Veronica isn't speaking to him. I'm gone. He's realizing that control and money don't actually buy love." She dried a plate carefully. "He asked if I thought you'd ever forgive him." "I don't know, maybe someday. But it would take real change, real acknowledgement of what he did." I told him the same thing. Later that night, curled up on the couch with Owen and Copper, I reflected on the past year. The wedding that was supposed to celebrate love had instead revealed its absence. But from that painful exposure came growth, change, and ultimately, genuine connection. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Richard. Your mother gave me your new number. I won't ask you to respond. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry for everything. You deserved better from me. Take care, Isabel." I showed Owen the text. "What are you going to do?" he asked. "Nothing, for now. Maybe eventually I'll respond, but I'm not ready yet and that's okay." "That's very okay." I deleted the text and settled back against Owen's shoulder. Some relationships could be repaired with time and effort. Others might never fully heal. And learning to accept that difference was its own form of peace. The stranger who took my hand in that back row had helped me find my way forward. Not by rescuing me, but by showing me I was worth being seen, worth being chosen, worth taking up space. And that changed everything.